Some stories refuse to stay in the past. Just when Bachelor Nation fans thought one of the franchise's oldest chapters had finally closed, an unexpected conversation brought years of unresolved feelings back into the spotlight. 14 years after Courtney Robertson's unforgettable journey on The Bachelor, a recent podcast appearance with Trista Sutter turned into a surprisingly emotional conversation that reminded everyone how complicated old memories can become. What makes this story so fascinating isn't just the disagreement itself, it's the reminder that time doesn't always erase emotions. Sometimes it simply teaches people how to carry them differently. When Courtney Robertson appeared on season 16 of The Bachelor, she became one of the most talked about contestants in the show's history. Her confidence, bold personality, and unforgettable moments made her impossible to ignore. She eventually won Ben Flajnik's heart, and viewers watched their engagement unfold like the ending of a romantic movie. Unfortunately, real life doesn't always follow reality TV scripts. Their relationship ended only months after the finale, and Courtney suddenly found herself facing intense public criticism. While many fans had already labeled her the season's villain, she later shared her side of the story through a memoir, hoping people would understand what life was really like behind the cameras. Years passed. Life changed. She built a new chapter, experienced love again, became a mother, and continued moving forward even through new personal challenges. Most people assumed those old Bachelor memories had been neatly packed away forever. Then came the podcast conversation that changed everything. Courtney recently sat down with Trista Sutter, one of Bachelor Nation's most respected figures. At first, the conversation seemed like a chance to reflect on old memories and share laughs about how much life had changed since their television days. Instead, it opened the door to something much more personal. Courtney explained that after her breakup with Ben, countless people reached out with support. But one moment had stayed with her all these years. She felt that Trista hadn't shown her the same kindness during that difficult period. Imagine bringing up a memory you've carried for over a decade while the other person barely remembers it. That's exactly what happened. Trista admitted she didn't immediately recall the specific social media post Courtney was referring to. She also reminded Courtney that years earlier, after reading her memoir, she had apologized, and Courtney had accepted that apology. For a moment, it almost sounded like the conversation might wrap up peacefully. Then another memory surfaced. Courtney brought up comments Trista had made years later during other podcast appearances, saying they made her feel like the old judgments had never completely disappeared. Suddenly, the conversation became less about old tweets and more about how words can linger long after they're spoken. The atmosphere shifted. The smiles became quieter. The conversation
Courtney
became
admitted
more honest.
she was already dealing with overwhelming emotions in her personal life. Going through a divorce had left her feeling vulnerable, and she shared that she'd even experienced panic attacks that day before recording. That confession changed the tone entirely. Instead of looking like reality TV drama, it became something much more human. Sometimes people don't react strongly because of one single conversation. Sometimes life fills the emotional backpack until one small moment makes everything feel heavier. Trista responded carefully, reminding Courtney that the podcast wasn't originally her idea and trying to reassure her as the discussion became increasingly emotional. What makes this story interesting is that neither woman appeared interested in creating a spectacle. Instead, viewers witnessed something rare: two people trying to navigate years of history while carrying very different memories of the same events. Bachelor Nation has always been filled with unforgettable romances, dramatic breakups, and emotional reunions. But this conversation offered something different. It showed what happens long after the camera stopped rolling. Fans quickly began sharing their own opinions online. Some felt Courtney deserved the chance to express feelings she'd held onto for years. Others believed Trista had already apologized and shouldn't be expected to relive a misunderstanding from so long ago. And honestly, that's probably why this story resonates with so many people. Almost everyone has experienced an old friendship that changed, an awkward reunion, a conversation that suddenly reopened memories they thought were gone forever. Life has a funny way of bringing unfinished conversations back when you least expect them. If there's one lighthearted lesson hiding inside all this, it's that reality TV contestants might need lifetime subscriptions to group therapy and maybe a giant family-sized box of tissues at every reunion. Because apparently, Bachelor Nation memories have better staying power than some marriages. Despite the emotional tension, both women handled difficult moments without turning the conversation into personal attacks. Instead, viewers saw vulnerability, misunderstandings, and the complicated reality of people trying to make sense of their shared past. In many ways, that's more interesting than another dramatic shouting match. As fans continue discussing the conversation, one question remains unanswered. Will this finally bring closure, or will Bachelor Nation's longest-running emotional chapter continue writing itself, one conversation at a time? Only time will tell. For now, Courtney Robertson and Trista Sutter have reminded everyone that forgiveness, healing, and understanding rarely follow a perfect timeline. Sometimes, 14 years later, the biggest surprise isn't discovering an old conflict still exists. It's realizing that people are still searching for peace on the other side of it. If you enjoyed this update, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think old reality TV drama should stay in the past, or is it healthy to finally say what's been on your mind after all these years?